we're gonna have a parallel 3C session here, and as a chair, I would like to request Professor Veda Parayana, SV University, Tirupati, to take a position, and he will be also presenting a paper. Please welcome and clap him. Thank you. We're gonna have a first speaker, Dr.B.R.Santakumari. She is from Pondicherry University, and she is gonna present a paper, Indian Perspective of Holistic Life. Please take a chair. We're gonna have a second speaker, Samani ji, Chaitanya Pragya ji from Jain, Vishwa Bharati, Ladnun. Welcome, ma'am. And I'm gonna request Bhagirath Patel if he's here. Otherwise, he will join later on. Let's enjoy the session and gather the information and knowledge from all learned speakers, professors, and scholars. Welcome you, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Good evening, everybody assembled here. Respected Chairperson, Dr. Veda Parayana, senior professors in the audience, Dr. Pappurao and Shamshiv Prasad Garu, organizers, my co-paper presenter, Madam, the Jain, Chaitanya Madam, and students and others assembled here. I am very happy to make this presentation and thank ICPR and the organizers here for giving me this opportunity to make the presentation. Now, Indian philosophy and its culture is being discovered by the West. They are looking at it because earlier they thought that culture was exclusively a European phenomenon, and Indians had the tendency to underestimate what was easily available to them. They didn't know that it was of value until it was recognized in the West and then reinterpreted in the context of the Western developments in their field of philosophy. Now, therefore, we have to revisit Indian philosophy to find out what is there of relevance, of eternal relevance in this ancient philosophy and culture of ours, which is known as Sanatana Dharma because of its untraceable antiquity, and it is known as Manava Sanskriti because it is intended for culturing and refinement of human beings. Just as gold, when it is mined, it has to be purified until we get the gold. Similarly, a human being, it is acknowledged in Indian philosophy, is crude by birth and therefore requires refinement through samskaras, the 16 samskaras that are performed from conception in the womb till cremation in the graveyard. There are major stages in life where these samskaras, which are rituals, they have a dual function. One, they remind the individual about the duties that they have to perform, and then they invest the individual with the required strength and guidance that is required for making spiritual progress and discharging their duties towards the society, because a human being is a gregarious creature and therefore they give to the society and receive from the society. And as Dr. Pappurao reminded us, Indian philosophy is obligations and duties oriented rather than a champion of human rights. And therefore we see that human life is regarded as most precious among the 84 crore births, and it is regarded as the fruit of three phenomena are considered as fortunate: birth as a human being, desire for moksha, and then having the guidance of the realized souls for achieving that purushartha of life. And Indian philosophy declares that Jiva is identical with Brahman, no other than Brahman, and Hiriyanna calls Jiva as Brahman in empirical dress, while others have managed to define human beings as a social animal, a rational animal, a fallen angel. It is we who say that they are identical with Brahman. The Jiva is essentially identical with Brahman. But human beings are strange creatures. They are not what they actually are in spiritual nature, and they are at the empirical level what they are actually not. Their divinity is not revealed because of Swarupa Ajnana caused by avidya. Therefore, evolution from the human level involves realizing this divine nature by transcending the instinctive nature that is caused by ego in the form of ahankara and mamakara, I-ness and minus. Arrogance here does not mean the perverted sense. Even having a simple conception that one is identical with the dehabhimana that they have, thinking of themselves as this body, mind, senses, that is sufficient to do the damage. So these rishis that who propounded the Indian philosophy, they were not forest-dwelling simpletons who were idling away their time in spiritual exercises. A rishi means an expert in a field, and this is how through their intuition they were able to have a vision of that transcendental truth and record their vision in the Vedas. And so we find here that their efforts succeeded at two levels: externally in the form of civilization and internally in the form of culture. They gave us a culture, and their quest was to transcend the trifold tapatraya. Tapatraya, the dukkhatraya, adhyatmika, self-caused, adi bhautika, which is coming from outside sources, and adi daivika, or the supernatural causes. So we find that when they conducted their investigation at the objective level and the subjective level, they found that consciousness is the supreme reality as Brahman. And at the subjective level also they found that Atman is the inner reality in the form of consciousness. And then they said this Brahman Atman are both identical, which means it is the same essential reality that is existing both in the objective world and at the subjective level in the individual. And this declaration of the seers demolished the walls that were dividing the domains of science and religion. Therefore, the conflict between religion and science which we see existent in the West was therefore non-existent in the Indian context. And it is inquiry. That is why the first prerequisite is viveka. Vairagya comes next. And vairagya is perfection of viveka, because only when your thinking is right and perfect, then the individual will lose interest in the objects of the external world. So vairagya is perfection of samyak jnana, of viveka. Viveka, perfection is vairagya. So they identified, the rishis, two kinds of knowledge, aparajnana and parajnana. All the knowledge that we get through the senses and the mind about the external world, this was called lower knowledge, what you get through vijnana, the science. And they had this knowledge, parajnana, of the transcendental self, And it was called the highest knowledge because through that the ego is destroyed forever and all desires are transcended and they more return. And it is called Taraka Jnana because it is liberating or redeeming knowledge. And this knowledge, Parajnana, no more transmigration after attaining that knowledge. Now, all these other 64 branches of knowledge that Indian philosophy recognizes were broadly classified under 4 heads: Anvikshiki, Trayi, Varta and Dandaniti. Anvikshiki is logic and philosophy, Trayi the 3 Vedas, Varta economics and Dandaniti politics and statecraft. So this distinction that Anvikshiki philosophy is totally different from, this is rigorous philosophy which the West calls as philosophy, that is Anvikshiki. Now Trayi will be religious philosophy, soteriology, which is scripture based, theories of salvation, those are called soteriology. So our ancients were already aware of this distinction. Even Kautilya says that if the other 3 regions of knowledge, Trayi, Varta, Dandaniti, if they have to flourish, Anvikshiki is very essential. And so we find that this Anvikshiki philosophy is called Nyaya Vidya. And Trayi, the knowledge that we get from it is Adhyatma Vidya or soteriology, which is Moksha Shastra. All our scriptures are Moksha Shastra, and we don't have to be apologetic in calling Indian philosophy as moksha oriented, because it was not intended for idle speculation, and all the schools of Indian philosophy, excluding Charvaka, they were interested only in liberating human being from the ego that is responsible for self-alienation, alienation from my own nature, from the others in the family and society, and the world and nature at large, which is responsible for all the problems and chaos that is prevailing across the globe today. So to terminate this, even Charvaka, if we put moksha as the attainment of happiness and termination of pain, then even because Charvaka is attainment of happiness, we can say that because moksha is negation of happiness, negation of sorrow, we can say the attainment is the same. Attainment of happiness, whether it is moksha or whatever it is, the end is the same, the terminology may be different. Now, Indian philosophers have made very valuable contribution, art, architecture, science, religion, politics, but their contribution has been greatest in the field of Adhyatma Vidya or this Moksha Shastra, as I have said, because they formed this Varnashrama system and they identified the Rinatraya, prescribed the Panchamaha Yajnas, so that simultaneously we can have both Bhukti and Mukti, Iha and Para, both here and hereafter, material welfare both for the individual as well as for the society. And they were just not restricted to merely human beings. They knew that every phenomenon in the nature is interconnected. So they, by recognizing Bhuta Yajna and Nru Yajna, Manusya Yajna, they were able to make their contribution because respect and reverence for nature. We view the rivers as Devis and all the planets as Devatas. So this kind of an elevation of the status of nature, where human being has to coexist and have reverence for all these phenomena in nature, is the bounden duty of human beings, where misuse or abuse of nature is prevented. And then to reveal and restore the divinity of human beings by revealing that supreme inner unity, which makes us realize that this universe is one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has been the aim of the rishis of yore. And therefore we find that when they had this fourfold purusharthas, human beings act. They act to enjoy and enjoy to act. No fool engages in any activity without an eye on what the person is going to attain. Now, when we say that we are all human beings, it is a big lie, because we have to realize at what level we are speaking, because the talent, taste and ability of every human being is different. At the empirical level, we are unequal. At the spiritual level, all of us are equal as jivas, right from amoeba to dinosaur, human beings, or whoever these rishi, kinnara, gandharvas, devatas, all these sort of things. So, when we say that we are all equal, we are speaking at the spiritual level, not at the empirical level. So, recognizing this individual difference in talent, taste and capacities, we had the four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishyas in the society. So, this organic representation of the four varnas, Brahmana has the head, Vaishya has the hand, Kshatriya has the arms, Vaishya as the abdomen, and the others as the assistants or the supporting class, shows the interdependence of all the four classes on each other as a whole human being and not a mutilated body. But when Varna got corrupted into Jati, we don't know at what stage. And then we find that each member of these four classes goes through the four stages of life, presuming that a human being lives for 100 years. Four stages were identified: brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, and all the four values, purusharthas, artha, kama, dharma and moksha, were allotted to these. So, brahmacharya, only brahmacharya, artha, kama within the limits of dharma at the grihastha level, these two being the pravritti margas. The other two, vanaprastha, sannyasa, representing the nivritti margas, dharma and moksha for vanaprastha and moksha exclusively for the sannyasin stage. So, all these we find that these rishis were very wide in their approach to life and experience, and then we have that when they perform these varnashrama dharmas in an attitude of nishkama karma, through any of the four margas, karma, bhakti, dhyana, dhyana, it will lead to the attainment of self-knowledge. But what is required is chitta shuddhi. Only through chitta shuddhi, the tatparya of the Vedas or the scriptures can be appreciated. So we have all these different praxis, and then if we take Jivan Mukti Viveka, Vidyaranya identifies four vasanas. Loka Vasana, which is responsible for name and fame and dislike for disrepute. Shastra Vasana, attracted to too many branches of knowledge, scholarship and these sort of activities. Then Deha Vasana, conceit in the body, upkeep of the body, attractiveness of the body to maintain that we take all the care. So these sort of activities are triggered by these samskaras, Lokavasana, Shastra Vasana, Deha Vasana and Vishaya Vasana because of experience of objects. So these samskaras have to be eliminated, and that is how we have the 16 samskaras at different stage to eliminate the doshas and invest gunas in the individual so that the spiritual progress of the person is facilitated towards moksha. So we find that this spiritual, when we say religion, religion has two meanings in the Indian context. Theistic religion, which believes in the postulation of a supreme God, reality, who's creator, controller, moral governor, dispenser of justice. That is theism, belief in God with whom we can communicate. But when we say religion in the wider sense, it becomes systems of philosophy which admit salvation. So this is how Jainism and Buddhism, which are atheistic, become world religions because they admit moksha or salvation, liberation as the goal of life. So we have to see that all these problems that we are having is because of the ego. And when we practice with sincerity, all that sadhanas which are prescribed, at that time we will find that this is what I have put in the words of Radha Krishnan. The world is a moral invalid and the problem is spiritual waywardness. Petty-minded politicians, unethical scientists, inhuman terrorists, irresponsible citizens, uncompromising fanatics, and mischievous media. All of them are contributing to the chaos across the globe. So it is up to every individual to cultivate the prerequisites, become an adhikarin, equip oneself with the chitta shuddhi, and intuit that reality so it becomes sakshatkara, and this is how we will be able to actualize and enact that transformation which was envisioned by the seers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santakumari. We appreciated all the detailed information and we enjoyed your knowledge. Thank you very much. Now, our second speaker, Samani ji, Chaitanya Pragya ji. I don't have the title. Can you tell me the title of your paper, please?
Good evening to all. Respected chairperson, my co-presentator, Professor Santakumari ji, and all learned scholars who are seated here. My topic is Anekantvad, a mode of holistic thinking and a way of peaceful coexistence. It is well known that Jainism has propounded many more unique principles for unity of mankind, peaceful coexistence, and also sustainable development. We have seen that the theory of Anekant has been read widely in India and abroad, especially for its all-inclusive approach. This Asian conference is being organized especially to think over the holistic mode of thinking and a way of living so that we can combat the problems of the world today we are facing. In the 20th and 21st century, we have got a very illumined soul, Acharya Mahapragya, who was the great philosopher, saint, and also a great yogi. He has given thoughts to the problems of the world today and have found that in this present scenario of the world, it is the theory of Anekant, which can provide a very inclusive, very effective, practical approach to combat the problems of the world and to create the peaceful, prosperous, and harmonious world order. In this paper, I will discuss some of the principles which he has discussed in his literature, and mostly they are the outcomes of principle of Anekant. There are 5 basic principles which are seen as the outcome of Anekant. The first one is relativity, the second is reconciliation, the third is coexistence, the fourth is freedom and tolerance, and the fifth one is principle of equality. These are the basic principles which can unite different opinions, different cultures, different mindsets together and can create a peaceful, sustainable world. Just to have the ideas which we find in the literature of Acharya Mahapragya regarding these 5 basic principles, I will read out my paper so that you can get very clear and distinct vision he has presented. He writes that in all corners of the world, one hears a common voice of people visualizing a new man, a new society, and a new world. Efforts are also afoot to realize the aforesaid vision, but the question arises, how meaningful is the above said voice? Will the efforts succeed? The quest for meaning and success cannot be based on the basis of permanent. The permanent doesn't undergo any change, and the vision of a new man, a new society, and new world cannot be realized without affecting a change. From the viewpoint of Anekant, the permanent is real, but so is the impermanent or the changeable. Being can be explained in terms of the permanent, for it is unchangeable, and becoming can be explained in terms of the impermanent, for it is changeable. Thus, change and changelessness both are real and are not two different things. They are two sides of one coin, both coexist and simultaneous. Since change is possible, the vision of a new man, a new society, a new world is not unattainable or impossible. The basic cause of change is the viewpoint. On its basis is built a theory, and implementation of the theory results in change. We do want to bring about a change, but lack the right attitude, nor do we want to develop it. The biggest obstacle between change and right faith is personal belief. Such individual or organizational has its own, each individual or organization has its own beliefs. A new man, a new society, or a new world cannot be visualized on the basis of these beliefs. A belief is based on selfishness and the concern for personal gain, as a result of which one disregards the good or gain of the others. Concentration on a caste or a sect is rooted in individual beliefs. The same root is responsible for the growth of conflicts, disputes, and wars. With the growth of right faith, belief changes into a quest for the truth, and the opposition between conflicting interests also comes to an end. It is commonly believed that the interests of any two castes, sects, and classes are mutually antagonistic. Though in reality they are not antagonistic, they are regarded so because of perverted faith, or what we call mithyatva or ignorance. Once the right faith develops, the antagonism disappears, and even the conflicting interests become complementary instead of being antagonistic. Right faith implies non-absolutism. Perverted faith means absolutism, or the assertion that nothing but what one thinks is right. To treat a mode or thought as absolute or inclusive is absolutism. To treat it as relative and incomplete is non-absolutism. To determine a real, one should have a non-absolutist view. Anekanta has two basic viewpoints, absolute and non-absolute or relative. For determining the substance, one should use the absolute viewpoint. For determining relations, one should use the non-absolute viewpoint. The first principle of Anekanta is relativity. To caste or to sex can be held in a mutually antagonistic relation only by adopting an absolute viewpoint. On the contrary, different individuals, caste and sex can survive and obtain relative benefits only on the basis of the non-absolutist viewpoint. In fact, the interests of the factory owner and the workers are not incompatible. By keeping in mind the workers' interests, productivity increases and the factory owner's interests are served. Likewise, by keeping in mind the owner's interests, those of the workers are served. If both seek to serve their interests in absolutely independent terms, the interests of both are jeopardized. The principle of class differences and their hostile vested interests needed to be examined in the context of relativity, for on the basis of relativity, even antagonistic interests can be reconciled. When these interests are examined in absolute terms, the inevitable result is conflict, violence, involving the abandoning of the principle of the purity of means. The second principle of Anekanta is reconciliation. It is principle of the quest for unity between two apparently different characteristics of a substance. Characteristics which differ are not altogether different. They have identicality also. Reconciliation can be brought about only by recognizing the identity principle. The principle of ecology is one of reconciliation and of interrelationship between different substances. Balance in the universe cannot be established on the basis of the premise I alone exist. We survive only by adhering to the principle that besides me, the other also exists and we are interrelated. The balance in the universe can be explained on the basis of the above concept of interrelatedness. The third principle of Anekanta is coexistence. Anything or anybody existent must have their opposite. Yat sat tat sa pratipaksham. Without the opposite, naming is impossible, and so is the characterization. The animate and the inanimate are two extremes, yet they coexist. The body is inanimate, the soul is animate, yet they coexist. The permanent and the impermanent, the similar and the dissimilar, the identical and the different, all these are mutually contradictory, yet they coexist. They coexist in an object. The permanent is not altogether separate from the impermanent, nor is the latter completely separate from the former. The principle of coexistence is as much practical as it is philosophical, though the terms system, individual, taste, and viewpoint have different denotations, even implying inherent opposition. The principle of coexistence applies to them too. Democracy and dictatorship, capitalism and communism are ideologically different political systems, but even they are no exception to coexistence. You are me, not you and me, is an instance of absolutism by which the problem gets compounded. The holiness of the world of religion has been destroyed by the view only those who have the right to survive, who follow my religion, all the rest should be extirpated. The main strengths of religion are non-violence, friendliness and fraternity. The absolutist view has changed non-violence into violence, friendliness into hostility, and fraternity into animosity. Coexistence implies tolerance and freedom of thought. Both tolerance and freedom of thought are meaningless if we try to enforce our likes, ideas, lifestyle, and principles on others. Nature has infinite variety, which lends it splendor. Beauty will lose all its charms and meaning if all plants, trees, and flowers look alike. The combined principle of Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram inheres in the principle of unity in diversity and diversity in unity. It is only the above harmony which forms the basis of coexistence. Monism and dualism are two principles belonging to philosophy. Unity cannot be explained in the absence of monism, and diversity cannot be explained without dualism. A harmonious combination of monism and dualism alone constitutes a holistic viewpoint for explaining the world. Likewise, there are enough factors of unity between the animate and the inanimate. On its basis, we are able to realize what existence means. There are factors of diversity also between the animate and the inanimate. On its basis, we are able to divide any and analyze existence. Harmony is a principle of the search for unity, but it does not negate the pre-existent diversity. It is only in this way that we can explain an individual as well as society. Looking at the time constraint, I am not completing my whole paper, just I am coming to the conclusion, which will finish within. Okay. Okay. I am very much honored and fortunate that Dada Sahab is presented in this session. Now I am coming to the concluding points. There are countless social problems. They cannot be solved unilaterally or absolutistically. Social life implies interrelations, and mutual relations can be explained only from a relativistic point of view. People have held varied views regarding marriage and divorce, influenced by time and space considerations. The property or otherwise of any one view cannot be upheld on the basis of single viewpoint. So there are so many problems in the universe, like poverty versus affluence, and equity versus disparity. It is essential to review and investigate them thoroughly from the Anekantva point of view, and we can get a very clear solution when we focus on Anekantva and its application in social various fields and problems. Thank you very much for providing that.
Thank you, Samani ji. We appreciate the detail provided in the paper and we enjoyed it. Now we have a third speaker who is doing holistic practice in our research center, and he is Mr. Bhagirath Patel.
Bhagirath Patel from HSRC. I am heartily welcome to all the speakers with me, and Dadaji, pranam. My topic is man and machine and beyond issue in interrelationship. Machine is basically an action aiding tool for the user to save time and energy and get the benefit of modern innovation that is meant to make our life comfortable. However, the machine is largely misused or employed for expansion of workload, and as a result, the man has been swallowed in a whirlpool of endless work and the problem associated with it. In this process, human being loses opportunity of having leisure and happiness. This dependence of machine has affected the interhuman relationship. Now a man feels friendly and more comfortable communicating with fellow human beings via gadgets and social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, etc., rather than meeting a person. As a result of living such a life full gadgets, the I-ness and my-ness goes on getting strengthened, and this has distanced the space between person to person, including of the member of one's family. With entry of gadgets, this living space becoming more and more personalized and self-centered. as a result of which the person starts to feel loneliness amidst the crowd. A man is known by his company, and nowadays in the company of gadgets he is becoming like a gadget himself. A man means one who decides a goal for life, what to be, not to be, has an empathy for fellow human beings. Unaware of the rampant loss of life moments that could have alternatively sparked and charged the life inside, the man lives in an imaginary world and feels himself in awkward situation when there is need for face-to-face interactions. Let us come out of quagmire of virtual world and live with living person. For the live interaction with fellow human beings only can blossom life within us. Mechanized entertainment fail to entertain the human being. Constant entertainment through machines and gadgets itself prove that which appears entertaining is not in fact so. It only brings in mental fatigues and has no taste, as if we eating delicious while dreaming. There may not be perfect precision and mechanical compliance in human being, but the characteristic different inter se deficiency itself is the factor which brush up our mind and keep it refreshing, so to enjoy the true purpose of life, that is fulfilling with continuously advancement to higher and higher echelons of bliss in human life. It is time to ponder over this serious issue the humanity is facing and find out a middle path to enjoy best of both, so that man will leisure to enjoy being what he is with others. And this paper is devoted to analyze the issue relating to the man and machine relationship, way to come out of it. मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में बात करना चाहूँगा। जितना हम यांत्रिक बाहर के उपकरणों का उपयोग करते हैं, उतना सुख लेने का उपयोग करते हैं, इतना ही हम आंतरिक भीतर का सुख खोते जाते हैं। और एक है कि जितना बड़ा अपना प्लॉट होता है उतना बंगला नहीं होता है, जितना बंगला होता है उतना उसका दरवाज़ा नहीं होता है, जितना दरवाज़ा होता है उसका उतना ताला नहीं होता है, जितना ताला होता है उतनी उसकी चाबी नहीं होती है। तो जो चाबी पूरा बंगला का आधार है, ऐसे ही अपने ह्यूमन बीइंग, अपने मानस का जीवन का बंधन और मुक्ति का मार्ग, वो चाबी आधार उसकी मन की चाबी है। प्रणाम।
Now I invite Professor Shalini. She would have some comments and details about Dada Bhagwan's philosophy in day-to-day life.
And the chair, I would present my presentation, Application of Dada Bhagwan's Philosophy in Day-to-Day Life. The importance of philosophy in human life. Philosophy is a study that seeks to understand the mysteries of existence and reality. It tries to discover the nature of the truth and knowledge and to find out what is basic value and importance in life. It also examines the relationship between humanity and nature and between the individual and society. Philosophy arises out of wonder, curiosity, and the desire to know and understand. Different philosophers have different view of nature, methods, and range of philosophy. Therefore, it is said in Rig Veda, Ekad Sad Vipraya Bahuda Vedanti, truth is one. The learned describe it in different ways and forms. The term philosophy itself comes from Greek philosophia, which means love of wisdom. In that sense, wisdom is the active use of intelligence, not something passive that a person simply possesses. As I understand, this is defined according to the Western way of thinking. If we go by Eastern or Oriental way of thinking, it is darshanam. Means enlightenment or atma sakshatkar. Therefore, Dada Bhagwan says at many places, there is no need to do penance, renunciation, etc. to achieve liberation. Even while living in this world and performing all the duties of householders, it is possible not to lose the freedom even for a second. Now this is very important, that being within the family and all, we can still do our duties and do the adhyatma as well. Dadaji calls this akram marg or upward marg, where nothing touches the tranquility of the core of the being, the pure soul. Dadaji repeatedly reinforces that we are not this body or mind, but the pure soul, and realizing that we are merely instruments functioning as per the Vyavasthit Shakti, we relive with us and with the bondage of this world. We find this theory in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also. Yat ahankaram, this is from chapter 18, 59 shloka. O Arjun, if you will not fight in this battlefield of Kurukshetra with arrogance that I am doing correct, this will proved as your futile effort, because Prakriti, the nature Vyavasthit Shakti, will make you fight. The importance of philosophic thought. Philosophic thought is an inescapable part of human existence. Almost everyone has been puzzled from time to time by such essentially philosophic questions as, what does life mean? Did I have any existence before I was born? And is there a life after death? Most people also have some kind of a philosophy. In the sense of personal outlook on life, even a person who claims that considering philosophic question is waste of time is expressing what is important, worthwhile or valuable. A rejection of philosophy is in itself a philosophy. Now, these days, I think we have everybody seen it, that Astik, Nastik, atheists have come up. They don't believe in anything. But while in this teaching, we welcome everybody. We welcome everybody, we respect everybody, we love everyone. What is Dada Bhagwan's philosophy? As we go through the teachings and preachings of Dada Bhagwan, we understand the comprehensive approach towards life. According to him, life's highest aim can be realized only when it is understood comprehensively. The worldly life should be accepted not only in its outer aspect, but also in its inner aspects. Scientific and technological development needs to be blended with moral values and spiritual aspects to benefit the entire world. Holistic science includes the physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and social aspect of life and living. Holistic science provides practical guidelines for an integral approach to health, wealth, prosperity, and peace for all. Now, I will just like to, this is my first visit to this institute. When I entered, I saw this mural on the wall. And I was so inspired, the first picture I clicked in front of this. And when I was explained by Bhagirath Bhai, what does it mean, what is it? I was surprised and astonished to see that all the religions' emblems are there. Whether it is Christianity, it is Muslim, it's Hindu, Jain, everybody. So this is what it shows, that we have respect and love for everybody, every human being. That inspired me, and I will just like to quote, because my mother tongue is Hindi, I would like to quote one couplet from my mother tongue and with English translation. Saim sadai kari mathe sindh sukar, सिंध प्रोविंस जो पाकिस्तान में है उससे रिलेटेड है। एक 16वीं और 17वीं शताब्दी के सूफ़ी शायर हैं शाह अब्दुल लतीफ़, उनका ये कपलेट है। साईं सदाई करी मथे सिंध सिकार, दोस्त मिठा दिलदार आलम सब आबाद करी। Now this means, O God, may ever you on Sindh bestow on abundance rare be loved. All the world let share the grace and fruitful be. मतलब उन्होंने सिर्फ अपने सिंध के लिए नहीं, जो ऐसी पर्सनालिटीज़ होते हैं वो अपना एक का नहीं सोचते हैं, वो सबका सोचते हैं। उन्होंने सिर्फ सिंध के लिए दुआ नहीं मांगी, लेकिन ये बोला पूरा जो वर्ल्ड है, पूरी जो यूनिवर्स है, उसमें जो है वो सब तरफ खुशी हो, अमन अमान हो, ऐसा उनका कहना था। The ultimate aim or objective of all the spiritual practice is enlightenment. It is the state of blissful nirvana, realization of Shuddha Atma, that the great sages of India have striven for. Any spiritual practice that we do should be with keeping this ultimate objective in mind. Enlightenment happens when one's sins are washed away and karmic scales are perfectly balanced. The philosophy is simple, but it is not so easy to practice. It takes dedication and regular practice. Day-to-day application of this philosophy. An enlightened soul, Dada Bhagwan, gives detailed description for seekers to unfold mysteries of life and living. He says in Apatvani, the world is not meaningless. The only thing required is to make it serve our purpose, because there is divinity within all of us who are engaged in diverse activities. The best way, therefore, is not to dislike anybody, but love all. No hatred. And I was told by Yogesh Bhai Patel that in this library we have Quran also. So this is what only a great personalities can do. Otherwise, a person like me, we will have our own interest. We will say, oh no, mine is better than the other. But when we go to such saints, we get enlightenment and we learn something from them, how to respect others. Not to, just last day. Okay, I'm sorry. Not to dislike anybody means we should accept and love everybody and every being. This is not so simple. This immortal message is given in Srimad Bhagavad Gita as a Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. ये इसका 9th chapter का 29th श्लोक है, that cosmic self Sat Chit Anand prevails in all beings equally. It neither likes or dislikes anyone. Simple way to apply Dadaji's philosophy. Dadaji always answered with scientific concept of questions, and the seeker got precise answers for their queries. We encouraged them to ask more and more questions, and they wondered how he was able to relate myriad things that are going on in nature in such a short, precise answer, for which scholars and scientists take years to research and find out. He says that liberation is the true nature of the soul, and not this can only be bestowed upon by Jnani. When a seeker is completely ready for it and goes to the Jnani with the mindset of, I don't know anything, and with perfect humility. Just last. In my concluding remark, just give me
10 minutes.
I don't think I've taken 10.
Yes, ma'am.
Just concluding remark. In my concluding remarks, again, would like to quote from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I'll just 18 chapter 62 shlok. This is the living example of Dada Bhagwan's teaching in day-to-day life. This is the same advice as given by Dadaji to go to the Jnani or enlightened soul with Sarva Bhavana. By all means, with pure heart and pure mind, speech and action, I believe that by the following and implementing the preachings of Dada Bhagwan, we can achieve peace and realization of Shuddhatma. Jai Sachidanand. I'm sorry you have given me time, but...
Thank you, Dr. Shalini Sagar. She came spontaneously and present a paper, and our holding chair, Professor Veda Parayana, is going to comment on all the speakers. And he's also going to present his paper, and we're going to have question and answers, and we will have a memento. So this all we have to finish within 10 minutes. At 6:30 we have to go to the auditorium. All right, bye.
So first of all, I would like to profusely thank Father Dadaji for having graced this session. It is kind blessings. He is here to listen to our presenters and myself. I deem it as a great blessing. And I too wanted to present the paper as the chairperson because I have come with a paper. I will briefly present. The title of my paper is Holistic Philosophy of Education, Some Indian Perspectives. These are the perspectives that I have chosen. The perspective of Sri Aurobindo, education, Vivekananda's philosophy of education, Tagore's philosophy of education, and Krishnamurti's philosophy of education, and another philosopher is Mahatma Gandhi. These 5 philosophers of contemporary India, see, they are not only philosophers, but they are basically philosophers of education. Their philosophy itself is education. There is no distinction between philosophy and education as far as these contemporary thinkers are concerned. And this is the philosophy of education that has been terribly neglected, completely sidelined by the formal education, academic education, education for bread, which is after money, wealth, power, position, at any cost, destroying the other in all manifestations, whether it is the other human being, whether it is other flora and fauna, the nature, the very cosmos. We are ready to destroy through this process of formal education. We want to grab material wealth, material pleasure. But these are the philosophers who have stressed the point that philosophy is for protecting the whole world, not only ourselves, not a self-centered attitude. You have to overcome the self-centered attitude through the process of education and see that this cosmos itself is holistic. I am also a very insignificant part of it. But man has assumed that he is everything. He is the master. No, here master and slave. That dichotomy should be overcome through the process of education. See, Aurobindo, he has, given integrated philosophy of education, taking the material, the vital, the psychic, the mental, the supramental. You have to, address to all the aspects, wherein everything is included. So integral philosophy of education is not different from integral philosophy itself. We have to teach this to the students from the beginning. What is this? We have to address it. Spirit is not exclusive of matter. Matter is not exclusive of spirit. But we are thinking that our formal education is a terribly, inhumanly materialistic approach. Treating nature as a matter to be consumed, to be destroyed, to be controlled. No, it is not. We are part of it. Unless nature is there, we cannot there. And another truth that humanity has to understand is that if human race is not there on the surface of the earth, better for the earth, better for the cosmos. We are the only species who are damaging everything that is in nature, in cosmos. So, if we are extinguished, nothing is a loss to the nature, to the cosmos. It is good, well and good. So that we have to realize first of all. And another thing, take Gandhi. See, Gandhi worried about people who went abroad and came back as highly educated, who became only civilized and self-centered. Egoistic, white collar. Egoistic, uncultured. They don't know, see, address, hand, head, heart. We are only addressing the head. You become terribly intellectual and egoistic. You don't even lift your own chair. You don't wash your own toilet. You don't handle a broom at all. No. That simplicity, dignity of labor, everything is gone because of education. Formal education. Not spiritual, holistic education. Very, lopsided education. Makes man inhuman. A threat to everybody, everything. So this is Gandhi. Take Vivekananda. He said, man-making education. Not wealth-making education. Character-building education. Not building my own image, my own empire. Becoming a billionaire overnight because I have a degree, I have this and that, power and position. That should not be the aim of education. Character building, man-making, expansion of consciousness. That should be the goal of education. According to Vivekananda, take Tagore, Arey, you are part and parcel of the infinite. Don't think that you are a finite human being. But formal education makes man completely finite, incomplete, and very destructive. So unite yourself with the infinite. That should be the goal of education, philosophy of education. Then you become holistic, eternal, part of the eternal. Then you take, another thinker. Yeah, Krishnamurti, of course, he says intellectual philosophy is a very dangerous, destructive philosophy. I become intellectually very sharp, but emotionally I become completely destructive. So therefore, there is a mind which goes beyond the intellect, which controls the intellect. Mind which is immeasurable is there, which is of love and compassion. Education has to aim at realization of the mind which is immeasurable, which is compassionate, which is loving. So this should be the aim of education. But we are completely forgotten. We become intellectuals and intellectually sharpening and aiming at sensate values, not supreme values like truth, beauty and goodness. So those are the values that we have to take into consideration. And another thinker I am forgetting, the fifth thinker. I said Gandhi, Aurobindo, sorry. Rabindranath Tagore, I said, Mahatma Gandhi. Five I have said, I think. I covered 5. Yeah. So, unless the contemporary philosophers of education are taken very seriously, at least by India, world has to take these philosophies into consideration. And also the philosophies of Dadaji, holistic philosophies. I have gone through the book very briefly. Home, heaven on earth. So beautiful dialogues. How you can resolve conflict between wife and husband. Oh, terrific. Very simple, very direct, very practical. You need not do anything else. You read those dialogues. I was reading to my wife. She was just shocked to listen to those simple dialogues. How to resolve the conflict between parents and children. Terrific. Modern times, problem with the children. How to bring them up. Yes, Dadaji asked them, give them compassion, love, finish. Don't do anything else. That will take care of it. You give them compassion, you give them love, let them do anything they like. Don't bother. Oh, terrific. Love and compassion. Look after them, because it is your duty. You have brought them into existence. It is your duty to give everything of you. So with these few remarks, I am sorry I have taken more time. And I don't think I can summarize the papers. Can we go for questioning? Yeah. So I need not summarize the papers. You have listened to all of them. So with this few words, I once again thank the organizers of this Holistic Science Research Center for having given me this opportunity of being here and sharing my views in the presence of Holy Dadaji. Thank you, sir.
Oh, okay. 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 Dadaji. On behalf of HSRC, we will be giving you the momentum, and Dadaji, she would like to have this memento from your blessings with your hands. You go and get him. Dadaji, come. Dadaji, you sit there. I know, okay. Dadaji, would you like to take a seat? They will come to you. Pragya, Santakumari. Where is Santakumari? Okay, Samani ji, Chaitanya, Pragya. Please, Dadaji. Yes, please.